What's up,
Hello,
everybody?
everyone.
Welcome to a long-awaited for.
Long time no see.
Yeah. It. I don't know. It's been busy. This is not working out like I wanted it to.
All these things we call jobs are really getting in the way, and just
yeah. No, but I don't. When was the last one we did? Before New Richmond, or did we do one after?
We did one before New Richmond because they were wondering if we hurt the motor in Waterloo. I think we did one in between, the week in between.
Yep. Okay, that sounds right.
Yeah.
But yours made.
I think that's the last one. The last one I seen was the one before New Richmond, I think.
Yep.
Sure. I think New Richmond went pretty good for everybody.
Yes, we were happy until we went home. The blowing out of the tires, I could have gone without.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
That's all part of the experience.
We were very pleased with New Richmond. Of course, Matt did a great job. That was our first trip up there. Megan running with the small tire V8s did very well. We did some changes to ours. Just we use it as a test and tune, and both of us ran twice each day. And we're in the money every hook, so we can't complain about that.
Awesome.
We didn't hit the money, but ours all ran good. I mean, everything did what they needed to do. We finally got some good passes out of Jonathan's tractor, and that's what we were just looking to do, is have 2 clean passes with that thing. So that worked out. Granted, we ripped it all back apart again after New Richmond. It's still sitting like that, but
a lot of times that's just as good as getting in the money, Ed.
Yeah. Oh, I was just stoked that on Friday when it made a pass, and granted, it wasn't even close to the top, but to see that thing go and everything work, and to end up where he did with that thing on the first day, and we actually were able to improve on it the second day. The only issue we had was making too much boost on Friday.
Oh,
well, that's not a bad thing.
It is when you hurt the motor.
It's not. I just would like the stuff to stay in the oil pan. So
yeah, I don't know if you guys heard my little story about Thursday night, because they were going to let me do a test hook. I had put a new torque converter in it before we went up. Thought I had everything tight. I started up there to put some heat in it. It sounded like the rods were coming out of the pan. I'm like, what in the heck? Well, for some reason, one torque converter bolt was just a little bit loose, and it was rattling. It scared the crap out of me, but Matt said, take your time. We'll get you down the track. So I only sat there for, 9 hours, never even thought about starting it in between time, go 10 minutes before we're going to go and rattle the net.
Right, so right.
That was our only hiccup. I don't know if Chad's on here. I want to thank him again. We got an Airbnb there just around the corner, and what a great time with his family and everything. We had a good time.
We have more fun times around the pole. The pole itself is great, but we have a hell of a good time just being around everybody, and that's more of the experience than everything.
Yes, the stories, the BS, and yeah.
Well, enough about us. Don, what's your 2025 look like coming up here right around the corner? We start next Thursday, I think, up Macville. So,
yeah. Well, I think we're probably just going to mostly pull the ATV schedule. We'll probably pull a few API hooks, and other than that, well, we do have some interesting things happening this year. So we're going to start another grandchild pulling this year.
Oh.
My, let's see. Actually, my youngest granddaughter is going to pull, Evelyn. So
awesome.
She took a test ride last year at the Pumpkin Fest, and that went well. So she said she wants to pull, try and pull the whole season. We'll see. The kids, I don't know what it is. these younger children don't seem to be as committed as I'll give you an example. You know, Carson, my nephew, started pulling with me when he was 4. And he hasn't missed a pull, and he's 22 now.
One or two.
You know, the other kids, bless their hearts, they love to do it, but you know, they got a lot of stuff going on. You know, it's not, it's just not quite the same. So that's kind of the new thing for us, Chuck. We may be able to get one of my grandsons, Max, might pull the 45 twin some, but otherwise it'll just be me and Carson and Miss Evelyn.
Nice.
It'll
Yeah.
be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, it'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully we get Grandma to come once in a while. That's always fun. But yeah.
We're gonna have to start calling you Travis Schwab Jr. with all your tractors you got to have.
Oh yeah, we don't have hardly no tractors anymore. We got 3. I can remember when we used to haul 6 around all the time because that's all we'd have had more, but the trailer only held 6. You know. But yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
When do you guys start then? Coming up here?
The 20th of June.
Yep, it's right around the corner. I know there's been some big stuff started, and the Mondovi pool there was over Memorial Day weekend. Looked like they had a heck of a turnout. I don't know if you guys went up or not, but
Yeah.
what an event that is turned out to be. You know, we were out the very first year they had it, where you were just actually pulling in his backyard, and they've really expanded everything up there. And looked like it was a good time. We were still doing seed corn.
I wanted to get up there, but neither of my tractors are ready to go again. So
This is the first year he's got the big stuff up there, right?
They had some big blown stuff up there before, just some testing and tuning. That's the most I've ever seen, you know, at one time.
But I'm talking like the big tractors and stuff. He's never.
Oh,
this
yeah,
is the first
that's the
time,
first
right?
time I've seen tractors up there. But
that
no,
Mod isn't that Mod the owner of the farm there? That 2-engine Mod?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then I seen Sparky had a rough ride last weekend.
Yeah, that didn't look good.
Yeah.
That didn't look good. And like I said, I'm not pointing fingers. You know, everybody's volunteers to run these sleds and all that. Just something they're going to have to look into. I kind of heard scuttlebutt at New Richmond that particular sled had a little brake issue and wasn't, you know, sure about the brakes. But I'm not, you know, not going in one way or another. I feel safe when I'm around any of them. Oh, rain just started pouring. Megan's running for the windows.
I threw our schedule up, the ATV garden tractor schedule up there once, just in case anybody wants to screenshot that or you're looking for a hook. We got a new hook down in Cambridge, Illinois with Galva Group this year. Hired us to come down.
Next weekend.
Utica, Wisconsin this year on Thursday night, the 31st.
That's a Thursday, okay.
Yep, 6 p.m.
Nice.
So
if you get a chance to hang out at that one, I don't know if they still do it, but they run the actual horse pulls, the draft horse pulls on Friday night, which is very, very interesting if you've never seen it, where they actually got that cart where, I mean, they only pull a certain distance, but man, them guys that hook them double trees into that thing and clank, that have all their fingers, you know. Megan and I went up one Friday night and watched them. She had never seen it before, and that's quite a sight to see. I know Tri-County we pull on Saturday, and they look for a little fill-in for Sunday, so I guess we're going to pull Saturday evening and then pull again Sunday morning there.
Oh, gotcha.
So we can have a good one, and I don't know, Brandon, if you talked to Adam or whatever from Platteville there, you guys going to come up Platteville? I didn't know.
He did finally call me the other day. He asked if I talked to Ed. And I said, well, yeah, I talk to him all the time. He really doesn't know anything about it. Oh, really?
People have talked to me about it, but no one ever said yes, no. No one would ever confirm anything with me. So
I do know in our meeting in the first Saturday there in April that Jeff said that we were hooking twice, and the 4-cylinder guys were going to hook in between the two sessions. Is what I've heard. So
the only thing I don't know yet is if we're supposed to bring our sled or not or what. But I don't care either way.
I better shut up. I can't see across the street. I know, like Devin Fountain and them have pulled with the 26-inch tires with our sled. They can adjust it down enough to, pull the 4 cylinders.
Yep.
So, like I said, that's I would get a hold of Jeff, and say, hey, this is what we're gonna do. And like you said, I've heard scuttlebutt. Yes, there is trucks. No, there isn't trucks. Their schedule or their flyer kind of looks a little goofy, but as far as I know, we're hooking twice. So
that's the way it sounded from Adam when I talked to him. So
this is like the Macville pull that's next Thursday night. It's not at the original place. I didn't know anything until I see the schedule come out. It wasn't even on our schedule, and I got looking at the flyer, and here's Tri-County down at the bottom. So I started making some phone calls saying, hey, are we, aren't we? So they decided like the week after that we had our meeting.
So it's not going to be at the place with the church?
No.
Didn't that always used to be at the place with the church?
Yep, right behind the church.
Yeah, we used to pull there with Wisconsin garden tractors.
Yep.
Years ago, always.
A few years ago on a Saturday night after it was over, a couple guys, 3 guys or whatever, were going across the street, if you know what's across the street from the church.
Yeah.
And got hit by a car. And
no.
Fortunately, one gentleman passed away.
So boy.
The Catholic diocese shut the whole event down. There's no pulling there at all. So
okay.
I believe Badger State, if I'm not mistaken, kind of took it over and moved it to a fairgrounds there in Macville, I guess. So that's where the event's going to be we'll be with Badger State. And
sounds good, Larry.
You guys are in trouble. Martin.
Well, Chuck, there used to be a track at the actual fairgrounds in Macville. We pulled trucks on it many, many years ago.
Yep.
It was a pretty good track there.
I believe that's where it's at again, looking at the on Google Maps when they put the
okay. All right. I mean, I don't know if it's the same one or not, but it used to be a really good track there. But that's a lot of years ago. Christ, that's got to be 35 years ago.
Oh, so you're only 37?
Yeah, I'm only 37. I actually turned 65 yesterday.
Well, happy belated birthday.
Thanks.
So speaking of that, where did you start pulling, Don? What did you start pulling?
Well, I started pulling just like everybody else, I guess, farm tractors and whatnot probably in 1980-ish, like that. 1985, I joined Fantasy and I built my first truck.
Okay.
And then we pulled. What's that? That was a 2-wheel drive. I pulled in the open stock 2-wheel drive class at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a Ford, a 73 Ford body. No, in 85, it would have been a 68. The very first one I had was a 68. Then we went to the 73 later. And I don't know when it actually happened, but it was in the early 90s, I think. I met up with some guys in Platteville one night. A bunch of guys from this outlaw pulling club come down. We had a fantasy truck pull there, and they came down with a bunch of their trucks, and they wanted to hook. And they were very similar to our open stock trucks, with the exception that they all had, they all run the big planetary rear ends, but they were only 481 cubic inch, and whatnot. Anyhow, it was the CPA pulling club. Well, we got to talking to a bunch of them guys, and I really got along with them well. So we started pulling with them then, mainly because I was getting tired of busting them old 1-ton rear ends every damn weekend, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, it got to where, you know, I could put a ring and pinion in on the trailer while it was going down the road so we could make it to the next pull. And if you don't believe me, you can ask some of my friends that went along. I've actually done that. But so we went and pulled with them. We kept the truck the same because we'd pull fantasy hooks. And I've always been loyal. If I start a point season, I stick with it, you know. So we went and pulled a few hooks with the CPA guys. Well, their wheelbase was a little longer. And with them big rear ends, it was just, and they ran a 40-inch tire, I think, at that time.
Okay.
And so it was hard to be as competitive as I'd like to be. So me and my buddy Charlie Larson decided to build a new truck, which was that 46 Ford that a lot of people have seen. It was white at that time.
Yep.
The body raised up like a funny car. Anyhow, we built that truck to their rules, and then we pulled with them all the time. And then we would sneak back to Platteville once in a while, and they'd let us, Fantasy would let us hook it, you know, but never, obviously, for points. You know, we could hook it in the class, but otherwise we pulled with CPA. And it was fun pulling with them guys because we traveled all over the state of Wisconsin. I mean, all over. We pulled in Escanaba, Michigan. We'd have where we would pull Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday somewhere. You know, there was twice during the year that we would do that. Man, it was a lot of work. I mean, it was just a lot of work. You carried everything with you but a spare motor. I don't think I ever did that, but I carried transmissions, whatever we had to have, because I never ever wanted to miss a hook ever. And I was pretty successful at doing that. My family members, you know, I actually have to thank them the most because I really called on them a lot to do things when they really had other things they wanted to do, but they helped me keep the thing going all the time, you know. Sherry, one time, I got to tell this story before I forget about it because I'm getting old and I forget things. So we were pulling down in Union Grove, and it was a 2-night hook. And I come out about 150 feet with the front off the ground just perfect, and it disintegrated the transmission. We got a beautiful video of it just spilling its guts on the track. Well, I had to work the next day. We took the truck back home, and Charlie helped her. He was farming, you know, busy farming at the time. I can't remember. I think he was haying or something. He helped her get the old one out, and she got the new one in. When I got home from work that night, all I had was just a few things left to tighten up, put some shields on, and away we went. And so that poor woman was greased from the top of her head to the bottom of her feet. She got it done. I was really impressed, to be honest. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So then we pulled trucks until 2007 was the last year that I pulled that truck.
2007. Okay.
Yep.
And what year did you think you changed that from the white to the gunmetal gray?
1998. Oh, we switched it to gunmetal gray probably in 2004.
Okay.
About there. Yeah.
You may not remember this, but about 2000.
Yeah.
Might have been 99. But me and buddies of mine would always go over and run the cheese trail with the 4-wheelers. And we actually come over and talk to you guys. You guys had just went through the car wash with the white truck. We come over and picked your brain for like a half an hour, asking about the truck and everything.
Oh,
and I can remember,
you know, Ed, I have to apologize. I don't I mean, we've had so many people come over the years that I don't specifically remember you doing it, but
I don't know that.
I'm sorry about that. But
And then I don't know if I've ever asked you this, but were you friends with Jeff Hodgson?
yeah.
Okay, that would have been my A teacher in high school, and he used to talk about you guys as well.
Oh yeah, we kept them guys up a lot of times at night when their farm was right across the road from Charlie's, and we always worked on it in Charlie's shop. And I mean, if people that know Charlie will understand this, I mean, it did not make a damn bit of difference. It could have been 2:00 in the morning if it needed to get started because we were working on it. We fired it up. Well, you can imagine what it sounds like with them headers in a shop like that with the door wide open, And nobody ever complained, but yeah,
That's what it's all about.
it is. I think over the years, the things that I liked the best was the little kids that would come and want to sit in it, and stuff like that. A lot of times we'd put them in the seat when we were pulling it around the pits, and let them, pretend like they were driving,
Yep.
But yeah, a lot of fun. Just an awful, awful lot of fun. Well, then, if you remember that, Ed, you probably at that time we were still taking the golf cart with us all the time. Do you remember that?
Ooh, I don't remember that.
Well, because this is another really good story. So I always talked about having a golf cart pull the truck around because other guys in our club had them.
That was before four-wheelers.
But it was before four-wheelers were real popular. All that was available was like a Banshee or some damn thing like that. You know what I mean? And they just weren't what you wanted to pull a truck around. So a lot of people used golf carts. And my father-in-law Sonny Thomas has been a tinkerer all of his life, and he said to me one day, he said, well, what would a redneck golf cart look like? And I said, I don't know. I said, it'd have a hell of a big motor in it. That's all I know, and well, Sonny collects Corvairs. Well, he had a Corvair that the front end of it was junk, but the back end was good. So him and I married the front end of an Easy go-kart to the back end of a Corvair. I still have it. Someday I should get it out and bring it to the polls again. But
I don't see any reason why you don't hook that to the sled.
Somebody asked me one time, well, how fast will it go? And I says, well, how fast did a Corvair go? I mean, we never did anything to it other than put a front end on it. We added a wheelie bar because if you got on it at all, the front end was off the ground. But we actually, on the trailer hitch on the back, I made a swivel wheelie wheel, and then we could pull the truck around without the front end being off the ground too much. And then my father-in-law come up with this idea, and it was a pretty ingenious thing. He made me steering brakes. I took the emergency cables from both back brakes and put them on the pedals, so I had steering brakes. It worked great. We hauled that thing everywhere. And then we'd have golf cart races, of course, I mean, people always want to race it, but it was a lot of fun. We had more fun doing that than we did pulling, to be honest.
Sure.
Quite the conversation.
It's like Brandon said, I love pulling. I have, done it for years, and I really, really love it. But I love more to go and see the people and to watch my kids drive. My greatest remembrance of all of the days of having our truck is when my daughter put our truck in the cornfield at Utica, with only three wheels. That's another story. So she's coming down, and I missed the weight just a little bit. So she came up way too high at 100 feet, and it come down hard. And when it did, it busted the left front wheel right off of it. That kid never wiggled off the throttle, just right down through. She went right through the cornfield. Well, Dale Stampley, he come running up to Bob. He says, Bobby Joe, you lost the wheel. She's, I know, but I knew I wouldn't need it till I got down here.
And the crowd went wild too.
Oh, they did. Yeah. And, at that time, our rules, the only thing you could get disqualified for was a weight. Well, the tire was not considered a weight, until the next year. Then the next year at the rules meeting, of course, that got changed. But for that pull, the rule said it had to be a weight. So it was kind of fun.
Well, we did have someone ask about your truck. This is the only picture I could find, and this is after it went from white to, you said, the gunmetal gray with the different front end.
Yeah.
I love the white truck. I always thought that
Well, I did too. And after I painted it this color, I didn't like it. I wished it would have been white again, but I wish I'd have known you were going to do this. I'd have sent you some white pictures, but it looks exactly the same as that picture, except when I had it, it had them wide, like I said, them wide 5 tires off of a like a late, off of the race cars, the sprint cars or whatever.
Yep.
And it was white. Yeah. Because they were really, really light,
Mm-hmm.
So.
You got married on the track.
Yeah. What? Oh, we got married. That white truck, it was white. Me and my wife got married on the track in Arlington.
Yep.
With that truck. Yeah.
You had pictures of that not that long ago on Facebook, or Sherry might have.
We did. Yeah, we shared them. Yeah, we'll share them again. Our anniversary's coming up the 4th of August, so we'll share them again. But yeah, all of our friends were there. It was a great time.
That'd have been neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of a funny thing. We were planning to get married. Charlie says, "So when you going to do it?" I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "We're just, have to be in the winter sometime, and he said, "Why has it got to be in the winter?" I said, "Well, because we truck pull every damn weekend, And he said, "Oh, well," so maybe we can find a preacher that'll come to the track. Well, that was, all it took. And one thing was led to another. And yeah.
And she was good with it.
Oh yeah, she was. Well, she knew it was the only way she was going to get married in the summertime. Unless we did it on a Tuesday,
Right.
In the garage working on it.
Yeah, well, that's it. You're either working or you're working on it. You're either working to make money to pay for it, or you're working on it.
Yep.
She did say that once, and real early in our relationship, she said, "That's all you ever talk about is truck pulling." Why is there something else? She's right. I mean, all summer long you're pulling it, and then all winter long you're working on it, and or else you're working to make money to put it into it. It's.
Yep.
Somebody asked me one time, "How much does it cost?" And I said, "Every damn bit that you'll put in it, every bit."
Yep.
That's how much it costs. Costs everybody different,
Yep.
Whatever you're willing to pay.
So you said 2007 was the last year you pulled?
Yeah, I won the points championship in 2007, and my grandson, who was 4, was he 4 or 3? 4. He asked me that summer if I would go to a little tractor pull with him. Now, keep in mind, I had never, ever been to a garden tractor pull, ever in my life. I'd heard about them, never been to one. And he says he wanted to go to a little tractor pull. I says, "You mean them mowers? Or I said, them lawn mowers?" And he said, "They don't have mowers." Just as serious as could be. I said, "Yeah, I'll go, So we actually went to Broadhead. You guys were pulling, the ATV club was down there pulling in Broadhead.
Okay.
And I went down there with him because that's where they lived, was in Broadhead. They still live there. But anyhow, so we went down there, and I was just totally amazed. I said, "They got a tractor for every size person, I mean, it was a perfect fit." So I decided that was it. We were done truck pulling. We were going tractor pulling. And I convinced my wife, of course, this would be so much cheaper.
Yeah, so you got to sit.
we're just going to have this little tractor, just this one little tractor. Well, then, which we did. We bought our first tractor from Dave Schubach. We bought a Ford that he had, an old Ford.
Okay.
Well, it was Ford sheet metal on a Cub Cadet or whatever. I don't know, though. It was chain drive. Anyhow, we bought that thing. And then, I decided I had to have something to drive. And there was a guy interested in the motor out of my pulling truck because so I decided to sell that motor. And he had this motorcycle tractor thing. Well, I wish I'd have known more about him. I'd have never bought the motorcycle. Good thing I got what I wanted for my truck motor is all I can say. Because I wasn't happy with the motorcycle thing. Anyhow, so that winter, I built the first 4-cylinder. Yep. And that's where it all started. So back to what I was telling, I said to my wife, I said, well, it'll be cheap, right? We'll just have one. Well, before long, we had 6. It wasn't long. We had 2 4-cylinders and 4 other tractors. One of them was a 50 cube. And I don't know. But anyhow, there wasn't nothing cheap about it, to be honest. We were right back to, all you wanted to put in it. But she never ever complained ever.
Oh, so
She always comes along and has fun,
And send sandwiches if she doesn't come.
she does. And we try to always make sure we eat them too.
Right.
Yeah. Or I give them away or whatever, but you don't take sandwiches back home.
I'll quit making them.
Because we had that happen one year. We were foolish enough to bring sandwiches home. Well, then we didn't get no more sandwiches the rest of the year.
'Cause they weren't.
Well, and that was our own damn fault. We should have been smarter than that, right?
Yep.
But we're back to getting sandwiches again, so we must be in good graces.
That's good.
But we don't ever bring any home.
So Don,
Nobody goes hungry.
you started in the '80s with the truck and up
Yeah.
the yard. So you've seen all avenues of pulling.
Yeah.
What do you think is the downfall of pulling right now? Is it money? Is it travel? Is it a combination? Everybody's trying to grow it. What's going on? I mean, an hour away from me, they just ran a 25,000 to win late model race. Them guys got 50, 60,000 in these motors and these cars and stuff. But us the tractor pullers are doing the same thing. So with all your years in the pulling, what's the downfall of pulling? The tractor pulling.
Well, I'm not real sure. I feel like the dedication to it isn't there like it used to be. I mean, it's still there with the pullers for the most part. You know what I mean? Just about everybody that pulls for points don't miss a pull.
Right.
So it isn't the pullers. The pullers are dedicated. But I don't know as the fans. I don't know. They just don't seem to be as. Although I say that, but then I look. The last couple of years, we got a couple of polls that we pull at that have more fans there than we've ever had.
Right.
You look at like the Pumpkin Fest is well attended by people that come to watch. That damn pull and Gratiot, So then the other thing that I really think is I do think that we used to do a better job of advertising, but you would think, all the people are on the damn social media today that you would think they would see it, but maybe we don't post the schedule well enough, or maybe it's that.
That amazes me. My wife had a doctor's appointment yesterday with an orthopedic surgeon, and they race at like Road America on them vintage cars and stuff like that. And he asked her, "Do you have any plans for the summer?" And she's like, "Yeah, well, we pull tractors." He's right here in Sterling Rock Falls, and they've been having a tractor pull in Milledgeville, Morrison, for years, and he's never been or never heard of a tractor pull.
Oh, I know it.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, what are we doing wrong? And I've seen it when I was garden tractor pulling. We'll take Milledgeville prime example. You know, they would on the radio would advertise every event down to the cow manure bingo, and would never say anything about the garden tractors pulling on that Saturday or Sunday whenever we pulled there. Ever.
Right.
You know,
Right.
unless
Well-
you're with Badger State or someone like that, and they could just call it a tractor pull. You know, ISP that I announced for, they just, you know, then the mini rods and the 4 cylinders and, you know, the 50 cubes and some of them guys show up, they're like, holy cow, what's this? Well, we've been here for years, you know. So like you said, social media, good grief, you know.
You'd think people would know about it by now, but they don't. You know, I work at the All American Do It Center here in Richland Center, and there's a lot of people that come in there that know me, and they know I pull tractors, but they never know where I'm at. You know, they think, well, do you ever pull around here? You know, I mean, they just have no idea when this stuff is happening, you know.
Right.
Do you have one this week? I mean, it's you know, it's December, you know, they say, do you have one this weekend? Well, no. You know, I mean, so
Only that dumb tree that travel and do indoor stuff have them in December.
well, right. But I mean, so what I'm thinking is I just, the garden tractors has always been that way. Remember what I said when we first started this, Chuck? Until 2007, I had never seen a garden tractor pull, and I'd been pulling for years already, and I'd been everywhere pulling, and I never ever seen one of them little farts pull.
Yeah.
Or I might have got involved earlier.
Right. And that's the thing, you know, we raced go-karts back in the early 90s, you know, and did all kinds of things. And I had seen back, and I can't tell you what year, it's probably the early 90s when, I don't know if it was the ATV club or who it was that pulled an indoor event over here in a horse barn between Sterling and Morrison. Double G or Diamond G, I think the place was. And I had just went there, and that's where I met Clyde Mishler and some of them, and got, you know, because I was a gearhead, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Well, it was 10 years later before I even started garden tractor pulling. You know, I just happened to get into it with a former friend of mine, and there you go, you know. But it's, you know, the sad thing is some of the clubs, you know, Mississippi Valley, and, you know, there were so many of them, you know, there's just a ton of whether it's stock or stock altered or what tractors sitting somewhere in a barn.
Oh, Christ.
There's
there's quite a few of them in Richland County just sitting there that nobody gets out no more.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. So, no, I try, you know, on our page, I try to promote, you know, from garden tractors up to, you know, ISP, Badger State, you know, if they're close, to get people into it, you know, and that's, you know, we've been mini rod pulling now for 10 years, and we'll do a local car show, or we've got a touch a truck event coming up this month, and they're like, well, where do you guys go? I'm like, do you live under a rock? You know, we got 7,000 now on our Facebook page, and I try to do a very good job of advertising where we're going to go, what we're doing. And they're like, oh, I've never seen this before. All they want to do is throw their kids in it with their sticky sucker hands and
Right. Well, you know, and then the thing that I always worry about, maybe it's just because I'm old, you know, but you look on the social media, like you say, and you got all these followers and all these, you know, whatever. But how many of them are actually true fans that go to a place somewhere and actually watch a pull?
Right.
I mean, they might watch videos on the telephone, you know.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, but at least if they're watching the videos there, maybe it'll entice them enough to go to an event.
Maybe.
I mean, if they're not seeing it at all, they're never going to go. So at least if they're watching them, it's showing some interest in it.
I think the way garden tractor pulling anyway, the way to get more people hooked is to get the kids involved somehow.
Thank you.
Yep.
You're exactly. Because what's going to
I've
happen?
always said that.
With you.
As soon as you get a kid involved, then the dad's like, well, I'm here. I might as well get the next class up or whatever, you know.
I don't
Yeah.
want to knock anybody that's running the stocker, but there is something to be said about 5 and 6 year old kids running them stock tractors. Crowds love that. Like parents love that. Like they will draw a bunch of 4, 5, 6, 7 year olds on a stock class will draw a crowd because people think that is cool to watch them little kids driving them tractors.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Then you
Absolutely.
take a young girl in it, even more. You know, nothing against the young boys that run, but you get a young granddaughter or whatever daughter that's pulling. You know, we try. You know, we try to attend some garden tractor pulls, whether we go up and see Brandon up in, you know, up north here or whatever, you know, because we still know where our grassroots come from, you know, and help out. I'll even grab a flag if I have to, you know, it's don't have a problem with it. But no, anybody by chance going to get to Farley and see the big 50,000 to win?
We might try to get out there Thursday night, but we have Cuba City's got our polls Friday and Saturday, so I'll probably be over there. We'll see what the weather does.
Well, the week before I found out that we're going to Macville, I've got being I was with Full Pull there for a while, I'm already reserved a RV spot in there, and they kept calling, "Are you going to pay for it? Are you going to pay for it?" And I'm like, you know what? For $39.99, I got Full Pull on TV, and I can watch it in my living room, you know. Well, then I find out that we got to pull a Macville on Thursday night. Well, that's when it starts. So I'm mad that I'm not going, but you know, we at the last minute decided we weren't going to go up and camp for the weekend anyway. So, but no, it's, you know, RJ and them guys, you know, man, what a great turnout and everything they're going to have for that event.
I hope they have a crowd to go with it. I mean, that's going to be the huge thing.
You know,
weather.
And the downfall of it, it's like any event we have, you can't control Mother Nature.
No,
you know, it can not rain for 3, 4, 5 weeks, and it rains one day and ruins a whole event. You know, so I know RJ and them guys, they'll probably put a building over the track. Hear rain coming, but you know, listening to the No Practice podcast and them guys, you know, it's gonna be something to see. The best of the best is gonna be there. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
That's from California to, you know, the East Coast. So it's gonna be a cool event. It's kind of neat the way they're doing it.
Disco
down. Hey, John, our condolences to your loss of your good friend JR.
Yeah,
was a great guy. He's definitely going to be missed by the whole community. That was sad to see. Good seeing you, John. Thanks for tuning in with Brandon and Ed and Don. You know, and John's got his little guy in the old Buster binder there. I see running pretty good. That's very cool. Like I said, there you go, getting the kids into it, going right back to John's grassroots. You know, with his dad, and you know, and
I was thinking about that with the kids.
Yeah,
I've thought about this for a long time. I don't know how we could ever get it done, but I always thought that we ought to have a tractor that we advertise for the kids to just come and drive it. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be, you'd pull right in the class with all the rest, but it wouldn't be one of our kids, you know, so just any kid could come and we'd teach them how to drive it.
Yep.
I don't know. You know, the insurance thing, I always worry about that.
The Florida Pullers down there, when we went down there to Zellwood, they have a couple of them. Just, you know, they're stock 10 or stock 12 horses that, you know, the kids just line up. Does it make a long show? Is what it is. But all it takes is to get that little bit of itch. But yeah, they, you know, I think they still had turf tires on it. You know, they know how to set the stud up, and they had helmets and everything right there. You know, just put a helmet on, and you know, like you said, you could do it several ways. Advertise it as a raffle or whatever. You know, whether you get 2 kids or 3 kids or a birthday kid or whatever. You know, I agree with you.
Right. We've tried that off the lawn baloney, and it just don't work. You know, they need to get on a real pulling tractor, and
yes,
you know,
I've got
That's
one
what I
sitting
think.
there.
Brandon Heller to build a community tractor.
I've got one
Yeah.
sitting there. Just
Well,
needs
it's
a
just
rear end.
something. Yeah, it's something I think we, should talk about. Maybe give it a try.
Yeah. And then you got enough room in your trailer, so you can.
I
drive it around,
do. I do. Yeah, we could haul it around. Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
don't. Unless we put a lift in the club truck, we can stick it up in
Right.
front.
I think our days of building tractors are probably over. I guess I would never say no, that I'll never build another tractor. I'd never say that, but I don't know if I'll build another one for me,
Yep. Till next year.
Well,
Somebody gets an itch.
you never know. I haven't, I've thought an awful lot about maybe getting me one of them Economod mini rods. I've thought about that for years, and I've just never pulled the trigger on it. But I have thought about that a little bit. But see, then the problem is, we're right back to where I was. If we were going to do that, we should have done it like the last 2 years, because I didn't have any little kids pulling, so then I wouldn't have felt bad.
Right.
Now I'm back in so now I won't want to do it, because we're going to have that stock tractor at every damn pull. That's just how that is, and so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
It's just another 1,000, Larry.
Yeah, just another 1,000. Well, I don't know. Ed probably don't have any pictures of that, but there's a sticker, and it's still on the back of my old pulling truck, and it says right on it, "I'm spending my children's inheritance."
Yep.
The kids know the deal. When I die, there's going to be all kinds of stuff they can sell. There ain't going to be a pot of gold anywhere, but there'll be all kinds of things they can sell.
You earned it to play with it, so.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Keel's even the Mary Keel, and then that's even what they name their tractor, spending inheritance.
Yep.
So
Yeah, there's been a few of them over the years. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. But anyhow, to answer, I guess I didn't do a very good job of answering your question, Chuck, but it for some reason, I just don't think enough people know where we're at pulling garden tractors. I don't know. That's what I think it is.
The best crowds we ever get is pulling alongside, like farm stock and stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of times, yeah.
And people
Yeah, like
are
when
just,
we run them in row, we always have a pretty good crowd.
yeah,
Yeah.
people are just amazed. They're like,
Mhm.
"What in the world is going on?"
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
especially when we run our 4-cylinders and we're 10 mile an hour faster than the big tractors, everybody's like, "What the hell?" Like garden tractor,
And the thing
we're
about
kind of
it
using
is,
the
like-
word loosely there.
like a lot of these promoters and announcers say, the younger generations are so far removed from the farms that they're all about trucks, whether it's
Yeah.
a gas truck, especially these diesel trucks now. And
Yeah.
I can really give 2 cents about them, but it's pulling, and I'm there and I announce it, and it is what it is. But and I think the antique clubs kind of suffer a little bit, like the garden tractors.
Sure.
But on the same hand, do you want to watch the same tractor pull in 6, 7 classes? Because they added another 100.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
and I've heard comments from spectators and other people, and it's the same way with some of the classes.
Yep.
I don't want to throw anybody out of the bus, but when they go and they hook 8 times a day or whatever because they can, why
Yep.
why is a promoter going to turn somebody down to run another hook?
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like, well, you had 300 hooks with 100 tractors,
Right.
or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
hey, that's if there's a downfall of the indoor pulling, in my opinion, that would be it. But
Yep.
it makes a pretty good show. And you know, Don, to continue with that advertising, when we go to down south to Kentucky over Thanksgiving and stuff like that, there's nobody there except for the pullers. You know, there might be a handful of people, and you can go right across the street to the McDonald's or to the Walmart. They have no clue what's going on in that building. They see the 60, 70 trailers sitting there and all kinds of haulers, but have no clue what's going on for $5 or $10 to go in and spend the day, you know.
Yep.
Right. It was always that way at Des Moines too. You know, we'd have that indoor pull in there. I mean, it was the only people that ever attended it was the pullers for the most part, you know. But
I can't run down to Kentucky or Tennessee and advertise for them.
Right.
No.
But, you know, there's enough people, like you said, that do that. Good grief. You know, thank God when we go to Liberty that there's a tire place right across the street from the hotel, because I've used it 3 years in a row now, between trailer tires and truck tires.
Yeah.
That's where I got tires at, Ed, this year. I was in Liberty. 4 new trailer tires.
I'm so happy that we were able to find a tire in Black River Falls, because then when we blew out the second one, I actually had another spare to put on, but I'd swear we got about Soldiers Grove. I thought I felt another one coming loose, and it made it home. So she's getting 5 brand new tires.
There you go.
Are you running 10-ply tires on that thing, Ed?
They're just old. I had this on my camper too, that they get to a certain age and they're done. Doesn't matter.
I say 4 years. I've done it on 2 sets of tires on the trailer I have now. If you look at the manufacture date, it's almost 4 years to the exact date that they'll start delamming or something.
I've tried different plies. If they're, like you said, 4 or 5 years old and they're done.
Yep.
That's true. I mean, I guess I never left them on that long, but yeah, I just know that it's really important to have a heavy enough ply tire, and you want to take a good look at them and change them. That changing tires along the road, that's baloney.
It is, but I will say this: about 2 years ago, I bought one of them. What do they call it? Trailer tire buddy for tandem axle trailers. You drive the one wheel that's not blown off up onto the ramp, and you can change the tire pretty quick. Rose is semi-impressed on that.
Yeah, they work pretty good.
Because you put 40,000 miles a year on it.
Yeah, because you actually wear them out, Travis.
Yep. There's a difference.
I mean, back when we were pulling trucks, I used to put tires on the trailer every spring before season started, because we put that many miles on in a year, you know.
Yeah.
But the enclosed trailer has been better, but we still change them like every 3 years, just because I don't like changing tires along the road. But you still end up every once in a while, you run over something, you know.
Oh yeah.
You know.
And I will say too, I don't know about you guys. I mean, I have to imagine all you guys do, but we have all the tools right there in the truck, like cordless impact. We are not going to mess around on the side of the road digging around for stuff.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think everybody's usually pretty well prepared, you know, but yeah, that changing tires along the road, that's no good.
I agree with you, Travis, but we got a lot of stuff going on this summer.
Water pumps. I've changed water pumps. Now here's a story for you. So we were going up to where the hell were we going, Ma? Clear up north, all the way up. Huh?
Ladysmith? No.
Were we going up to Escanaba?
No. We were going west.
No, west.
Rice Lake.
Rice Lake. We were going to Rice Lake. And we were going along. And pretty soon we were following. Charlie had the truck and the trailer, and we were following in the I don't know, S10 or something. Anyhow, we're coming along behind. Pretty soon the window was getting wet I said, is it raining? What's going on? And no, it's not raining. Pretty soon Charlie comes over to CB. He says, hey, the truck's heating up. Something's wrong. So we go up there, and the goddamn water pump went up, broke right off the water pump, went into the radiator.
Oh, geez.
You know, and so there you are. I said, well, the water pump on the pulling truck will fit the one on this truck, and then we'll just have to change them back, you know.
Yep.
Well, as luck would have it, we were we were just a few miles from Kelowna. And so I drove up there, and sure as heck, they had a water pump. And the guy says, he owned a salvage yard. He says, I'll go out there and find your radiator. You go get the water pump on, and I'll find that radiator and bring it to you. So we changed all that stuff. Us and some other pulling people that were pulling, we were all traveling together. They all pulled over,
Yep.
and we got that water pump back on the truck and the radiator in it. Made it to the pole in Rice Lake just barely in time, And one of the guys, I got a kick out of him. I says, well, you guys better get going. You're going to be late. He says, well, they can't have a pole if we're all late. So I guess, yeah, he's not wrong, I guess. So, but yeah, they stayed and helped us. We got her done right there alongside the damn road. Yeah.
Crazy.
Chuck's still bobbing in and out.
Yeah, I don't see Chuck.
Trying to add him.
I did too. How about we tried to add him at the same time?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, here we go.
There you go.
There's Chuck.
He's
I'm
back.
back.
Yeah.
You still storming down there?
Not bad. I thought it was you guys. Everything just kind of went black on me. So who knows?
Oh,
So, Don, you ever get Sherry to drive?
Sherry drove, yeah, twice. She drove the white truck twice up in Biola.
No.
And I don't know, they always have that pull. It used to be back in them days, that was the last pull of the year anywhere. Now there's several other pulls after that. But at one time, that used to be the last place you could pull. So it was kind of a open deal. It wasn't a points pull or nothing like that. But our club always all went. And so I asked her if she wanted to drive, and she said, yeah, she'd like to give it a try. And so I told her, I said, now I'll be standing about 150 feet just watching. And I said, if I give you the thumbs up, you just open her up and down the track you go. And I said, you'll be just fine. Well, she was just fine until she got to where I was standing, and she realized how high in the air she was. And she just got scared to death, and she just got out of it and stopped. And I says, geez, honey, that's not what you were supposed to do. So I said, let's take it back around, and we'll hook you back up and try it again. I told her, I said, I'll put a little more weight on it. It'll be really nice this time. So we took it back around, let it cool down. And then in the later class, we hooked her up, and I told her the same thing. I said, now when you see me, I said, you just give her the beans, and don't let up till you get to the other end. And I said, don't worry about it. I said, if the front comes, I said, it'll always come back down. I said, it won't, go stay up forever. I never changed the weights at all because I knew that she could win that pull if she would just stay in it, And so she got to me, and I gave her the signal, and she opened her up, and by God, she did. She took her clear to the other end. She did win the pull. When she got out of the truck at the end of the track, she just fell to the ground. Couldn't even get up. But that was the last time she drove it. So
first and last.
Yeah, well, second and last. Yeah, whatever. But yeah. So she did drive it. My daughter Bobby Joe drove the hell out of that truck. She did a heck of a job of driving it. So me and Charlie really just loved watching her drive because she was kind of a natural, and that was a lot of fun.
Like that.
We've had a few. I can tell you one thing: you do not want to have your engine builder drive. I don't know if you guys know. I'm sure you do. Tom Foley from TMB's.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So anyhow, I asked him. I said, "You want to drive, Tom?" He said, "Sure, yeah." Well, so he gets in there, and he's watching all the gauges and the fiddling with the switches and doing everything but listening to what I'm telling him to do. Just the worst driver I ever seen. He's just terrible. Going down the track and you can see he's got his nose planted on the tack instead of watching where he's going. And I says, no, that's enough of that. That'll be the last time you're going to drive. It was just terrible. But he's always fiddling with switches all the time. One time we were going to the dyno.
Mackenzie Foley, Tom's boys, drove the goat. I see Ed wearing the goat shirt. He shows up every now and then and drives Sean Whedon's goat at a few events.
Yeah, and he's a good driver. Mackenzie is.
Yeah, Mackenzie's a good driver.
Yeah.
We all know the story about me letting Megan drive the Leprechaun for the first time. That was my last time that I drove it. When I first asked her if she wanted to drive, she's like, well, just kind of move the pedals so I can reach them. And after the first trip, she's like, I need the seat here. I need the pedals here. I need the throttle here. And that was it. So now at an event where if she's running for points, I can still run the tractor. If she can't be there, it's not real comfortable. But I'm glad she goes. I'm glad she goes. I'm glad she loves it. Makes it a whole lot easier spending money, so.
Yeah.
So Rosa's first time driving, we were in Durand, and like I had asked her numerous times, do you want to drive? She's like, no, I'm good. Jonathan says you should drive, and instantly she's like, okay, I'll drive. So we're in Durand. I kind of go over everything, how to drive it. I'm like, dude, this thing is so easy. It's just the throttle. You don't have to do any clutch. This thing's easy to drive. Fine and dandy. She gets out probably 100 feet and kind of forgets that you have to hold the throttle to keep it going. So she lets go of the throttle, and then it dies. Well, it just happened. She was going off to the right, so when she let go of the throttle, it brought the front end back down, and it straightened itself back out. So then she got back in the throttle, and she had to win the class. So I accidentally, she
I remember that. Yeah.
And it didn't. She couldn't, and then it just worked out for her.
Yeah. I remember that day.
I don't know. I don't remember Brandon run, but I think it was the actual first time that Megan drove that. We were down in Powderly, and I said, you always overweight the front end. You don't want to scare. And I was like, the front end will come up a little bit. You'll be fine. Well, she gets about 3/4 track, and that front end comes up. The first thing she does is puts 2 hands on the steering wheel, and then it's like, oh no, I forgot. I've never had to. I don't want to say yell at her or tell her, because she beats herself up more than anything. It's like, hey, she knows what she did or should have did or shouldn't have did. We were at Milledgeville one time, and she'd always jump up with the big tires. And Milledgeville at that time was a former racetrack, so you started up on the right and it'd bring you down to the left. And I said, well, I'm going to start you up here. I says, just let it go. It'll take you down there. You'll be fine. Now, she could reach out and touch that concrete wall. There she goes. She didn't go to the left at all. Right down 1 foot away from that concrete wall the whole time. And I'm like, oh my God. She's like, she said, don't punch the brakes. I'm like, okay.
What?
So no, that's always fun stories that you always got, but she's, and the first year was a great year because I just said, sit in it and go, well then pretty soon she wanted to start knowing more and more. And then she started overthinking and really messing up. And, three right-hand brakes to go left and run through a 3-foot pile of dirt and, bust spindles off and all that. And I was down in Utica. But no, she loves to go. She, I love her to go. So it makes it great for us. So I was dumb enough to build a second one,
Hey, John, does this offer go for anyone? Like any one of us can drive anytime, or is that just Brendan and Tom? Just curious. Asking for a friend.
I'd like to see Brenda in one. That would be awesome. Heck yeah.
My wife used to like driving my black one all the time, my snowmobile tractor.
Yeah.
I was gone one weekend to a wedding for my cousin in Texas, and she drove up in, was it Belmont? When they had the dirt berms up there. And I was gone, and she ended up sticking it up on the berm. I just got to hear about it. I didn't get to see it, but I don't think it broke anything. I don't remember.
Sure, there's the engine out and down. We'll push it around.
Is that tractor still around, Brandon?
Sitting in the shop.
Oh, you still have it?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I sold it for a while, and then I ended up getting it back. And Jonathan drove it for a little while, and he ended up ripping the drivetrain out of it one day. It's chain driven with a straight axle, and it broke a bunch up. And but it's
Well, I knew it had sold one time. I didn't realize you got it back.
Yeah, we got it. Oh, about the time Paul started pulling, I ended up buying it back for her to pull.
Claims on it, didn't
And I don't know what happened. She pulled it for a little bit for part of a year, and then I think Jonathan started running it, and so that was the end of that. But no, she likes it because it's just like Ed was saying, it's just a throttle. So, but I'm this close to putting it in a Martin chassis that I have sitting there, so that might happen yet too.
Just another 1,000.
Just another 1,000.
Just another 1,000.
It's only an 800 though.
No, you guys, I do have to give kudos to all the 4-cylinder guys, whether it's the snowmobile, the motorcycle, or the car engines, you guys have really come alive in that class. They're fun to watch. To me, the car ones more than the screamers, but you know what, it's any time, whether you got Larry Martin's boy with all 4 tires off the ground or, whatever. It's, of course, the longs are always tough regardless,
Yep.
But I see
they're all tough.
Yeah, it's you guys get them 26 12 really spinning.
It's pretty amazing what you can get out of a little 4-cylinder if you work at it. It's
just
they're
like
a lot
you
of
said
fun.
earlier, it's all in how much you want to put into it.
Well, but there's more to it than that. I mean, you can spend all the money in the world and it still might not be a good puller.
Right.
There's a lot of things that. Yeah.
Still got to get it to them 26 12.
I mean, I always warn people, about that. I mean, you can spend, all kinds of money and you might not ever be a good tractor puller. I mean, there's several things involved, Yes, it has to be good equipment and it has to run very good, but you got to put it in the right spot and you got to set it up right.
Yeah. I have come to the conclusion that I have to drive more in the summertime because I absolutely suck in the wintertime if I don't drive in the summertime a little bit.
And you wouldn't think it'd be a big deal. I'm just getting back in the seat, but it's true. You see the little quickiness, being off for 2 or 3 months before we go to Powderly or whatever. And
see you, John.
See you, John. Have a good night. But yeah, it's fun. We've talked about doing nothing but winter pulling, and maybe extending out a little bit, but I don't know. It just seems crazy for him to sit in the shed all summer.
Yeah. We want to branch out a little bit more in the summer too. I mean, that's not be committed same place all summer, but it's hard to walk away from too. So
yeah, it is. Me and Carson did that 2 years in a row. We did that where I wasn't an officer in the AMPI club at the time and whatnot, so that we could get out more. We put on, he told me that we had 62 hooks on his tractor that second year. And I believe it. I wasn't keeping track, but I'm pretty sure that's probably true. I mean, we went all over that summer. We went clear down to what would happen is he was really into it at the time. So if we'd have a pull here that got rained out, whether it be an AMPI pull or an ATV pull, he'd start looking for where other pulls are. And one year there, the AMPI and the ATV club both got rained out because they both were going to have a pull that day. And him and I ended up in Shelbyville, Illinois, pulling down there. And Pfeiffer came over there too. But, just stuff like that, it's a lot of fun, You know, it can be a lot of traveling, but it's an awful lot of fun to go and pull with other people, you know.
Mhm.
And since I had my heart surgery, I haven't been doing that so much, but we're thinking about doing the same thing maybe this next year, getting out and going other places a little more. It'd be kind of fun, you know.
Yep.
We used to always go down to that pull in Missouri that Jasperling has.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We used
Oh,
to
yeah.
take the four cylinders down there, you know, and pull. And it was a lot. That first 4-cylinder I built, I actually sold that to a guy from Missouri. We traded. I got a 50 cube and he got my old 4-cylinder. And that's how we got started going down there. And man, them guys from Missouri are some of the friendliest people I've ever met. They're just unbelievable.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. You ever been down there, Brandon?
I haven't been to that one. I was going to try to go last year and we had something going on. I don't remember what it was.
Well, we should make it a point to go this year. It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's a very neat pool down there.
Well, anybody know what weekend that is?
Oh,
It's usually in September.
It's the end of
Okay.
September.
Mhm.
It's down there by Mark Twain Lake and all that. It's a really neat
Okay.
area.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's towards the end of December or September. I know that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We were up in Macville we pulled the mini rods pull on Thursday night. There are our mini rods, and then the opens pulled on Friday and Saturday. But we got rained out on a Thursday, and there was a pull in Ohio on Friday and Saturday. And we had stayed in Macville all day long, unloaded, loaded. Oh, we're going to pull. We're not. So we got all lined up, getting ready to pull, and it just dumped. So then we're loading everything up in the mud. And at that time, we just had the one. And I'm like, screw it. We're going to Ohio. We jumped on 90, heading east, and I got to 39, and I'm like, nope, not going. Because we'd had pretty much drive all night to get there. And I'm like, no. And then thank God, because they got rained out on Friday and Saturday anyway. So I'm glad we didn't need to go.
So Ron says it's September 6th.
Okay. So it must be a little earlier than it used to be. Seemed like it was later before, but
Yeah, I thought it was normally down, like you said, down towards the end of September.
yeah.
After everything was over. No, make sure you look at the schedule, because I know they pull like the kids classes and all that during the day, and they have a break and then pull a lot of the bigger stuff.
I know Larry.
But no,
I know Larry usually goes.
Yep.
Very neat facility. Jeremy does a great job with that. We haven't been down in a few years because they don't have our classes, of course, but that's kind of a bucket list pull if you've never been. That's a good time.
We were down there 10 years ago to watch. We went down and hung out for a little bit. Larry was down there. Actually, Don, you were down there.
Yeah. Well, the very first year I went there, me and Conley went in Carson.
Yeah.
And I had my 4-cylinder at that time. Not the 4-cylinder before the one we got now. I had. Anyhow, I was the last tractor down the track that night at 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Man,
that's why they split classes up.
That was a long day. Yeah.
Don, maybe you can remember, where is it that they will stop for lunch regardless of where they're at in the class?
Oh, that's in Missouri too. I can't think of the name of the town now, but
you guys used to talk about that. You'd be in the middle.
Yeah, me and Ball and Conley and of course Carson, we went there. And so the first time it ever happened, so our class was pulling the V twins, and I back up to the sled time, and they hooked me up and I'm on, and then I look and nobody's around. I mean, people are just gone. No flag man, no. So I just shut the thing off. I get up and look around. Conley come over. He says, "Oh, it's dinner time, you nut. They quit for dinner here." Yeah. So went and had dinner, come back, and away we go. But it was an indoor pull at some big horse arena. I can't remember the name of the town right now. But anyhow, it was in Missouri. Yeah. Stop and go to dinner. Right in the middle of the just everything comes to a halt, Yeah. kind of cool. Well, otherwise the track help never gets to eat nothing,
Right. Right.
So, yeah, it was kind of cool.
We were down there the first year and actually met a guy that worked at the mill right here in our hometown. Megan had watched him all day, and he's like, "There's only two people that wear that style of hat. It's either a real hippie or a mill rat." He's like, "Yep, I worked at the mill for 30 years." And him and a bunch of buddies went down on a fishing trip there on Mark Twain Lake. And when he retired, him and his wife moved down there and retired down there. So, small world. That's a very good pull.
There used to be, and they may still do it. I don't know. We only went down there twice, and that was when I had that. Well, Ed calls it a maroon truck. That was actually some iris metallic. That color was picked out by my daughter. I never did care for that color, but anyhow, they pulled that particular style of two-wheel drive trucks down there, all over hell down there in Missouri. And a bunch of the guys from Iowa, we used to do a lot of outlaw pulling at that time, and we'd go out to Iowa. And then next thing you know, you'd start finding out about these we called them brush pulls down in Missouri, Oh, man, that was a hell of a lot of time. Sometimes you'd win a bag of seed corn, or stuff like that. It was just, fun stuff like that,
Oh, you can sell it to Brandon then. That's
yeah. Well, they always had really good food. You know what I mean? Concessions at all them places down there, and yeah, it was just a lot of fun. Out in Iowa too, it's kind of the same way. Yep.
Oh shit.
Uh-oh. Pager's going off.
Uh-oh.
Oh, the stories. God, that's the best part about pulling.
Oh, Jesus. See, I could sit and tell stories all night. I mean, it's just crazy,
Friends we've made and the people we get to hang out with.
Just,
best.
Yeah, I was looking through my Facebook friends the other day that just the pure number kind of just astonishes me at times. But when I go back and I look through all of them, I mean, most of them, probably 80% of them, are people that I met pulling
Yep.
over my career of pulling. And it's just, and they all, when you talk to them or chat with them, I guess that's what you're supposed to call it, right? Chat. You're not really talking.
Right.
It's just like you seen them yesterday. And you might not have seen them for 20 years, And if you see them in person, which you get an opportunity to do once in a while, it's just like you seen them yesterday. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yep.
It's kind of like how we feel when we do the indoor stuff in the wintertime. You look forward. You don't really care if you go down to pull. You're looking forward to go down and seeing the people that you don't see all summer.
Yep.
Sure. Yeah. Because some of them people, that's the only time you ever see them.
Right.
Yeah. Once a year. For a couple days. Go have dinner with them at night and.
Well, that was the nice thing about the early years of truck pulling, with Fantasy was we didn't have that many hooks with Fantasy. So, if you got a pulling truck, you want to pull it all the time. At least I did. I mean, that's how I've always been. I want to pull. I want to pull. I get a kick out of some of these club presidents and whatnot. They say, "How many pulls do you want?" I said, "Well, I want to pull every weekend." I mean, that's how I've always been. So back then, you didn't have that many pulls. So we'd go to all these brush pulls. Iowa had them. I mean, I think just about every damn little town in Iowa had a brush pull on a weekend somewhere. It was a lot of fun. But, diesel didn't cost $3.29 a gallon either,
Right.
But, yeah. That was really kind of the thing that finally slowed us up. I told Carson, I said, man, it's just not worth it. You go, you work your butt off, and then you burn up $200 or $300 worth of diesel fuel, just so you can go down and have fun. And if you're lucky, you might win $20, and we never did it for the money anyway, because there just was never money to be made in any of the classes we ever pulled in, you know. But we did it for more for the fun and to meet the people. But when it got to be where it was so damned expensive to travel, we kind of slowed up about it, you know.
Yep, I agree.
Now, you know, now it's like I say, now diesel's backed up, you know, around 320 again, you know. You know, maybe a guy could do it for less, you know, wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah, when we got into the mini rods, that was the thing. It's a minimum of 2 hours for us one way to get to an event, you know.
Right,
Backfill's
right.
almost 5. So
Yep.
Well, everywhere we pull, you know, and it's always been this way. When I pulled the truck and when I, you know, no matter where we were going, it was 2 hours or an hour and a half, you know, no matter where I'm going. Unless, you know, with the garden tractors, we had a few close ones there for a while. Gosh, there was those years we were pulling like 3 times in Richland Center. That was nice, you know.
Yep.
And Boaz, of course, is always nice. But everywhere else is, you know, it's an hour and a half, 2 hours, you know. And I never complained. That part never did bother me, how far we had to go. But, you know, like I say, late in the last few years, it just got to be way more expensive than what I wanted to spend traveling, you know. And I kind of wanted to do some things with the family, you know, things I didn't do for years. You know, when you get old, when you start getting old, you start thinking about that you're at some point you're going to have to pay for all the bad crap you did when you were young. So you start thinking about that, you know, hey, maybe I might be, you know, these kids might have to take care of me. And so I better be nice to them, you know? Yeah.
Yes.
No, my kids have always been really good and understanding. It's always been kind of a general rule in our family, and the entire family knows it. I mean, right out to the distant cousins, that if you're going to plan something, check and you want Don to come, you better see if there's a tractor pull first. More than likely, you're out of luck, you know?
Yep. Yep.
So my daughter, you know, she planned her wedding around, you know, let me see your schedule, you know, so yeah, I don't know.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, it's been my life, you know, everything in, I have to admit, I mean, my life has been pulling since 1985. Just, that's what I do.
Yep.
Yep, my family knows.
Maybe if I get, you know, if I could do it another 10 or 15 years, I might get good at it.
Just got to keep up with the rules.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you know, of course, I guess we do have a little soccer now, but that's the nice thing about that 1450 class that we pull in. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's pretty simple.
The list
You
of
can
rules is
easily
only 7 long.
you can pretty easily tell just by standing there looking at the tractor if it's legal or not. Let's see. Oh, it's got a 26-12-12 tire. Oh, it's got 4 cylinders. Oh, and it's only 8 feet from the center of the rear axle forward. Oh, let's put her on the scale. Yep, it weighs 1450. Yep, there you go.
Yep. That's a pretty simple class.
I will say, I agree with you there, Don. When we have our rules meeting, it comes to 4-cylinder stuff, and it's the same thing every year. Like, we're good. Like, everybody's good. Like you say, it's 4 cylinders. You got a length. You got a tire size. To check, like, to accuse the guy of cheating, like, what is there? Everybody can see what you're doing. Like,
yeah, exactly right. And that's the reason why I pull in that class, and it's the reason why I pushed hard and talked about, you know, that our rule needed to be that way.
Yep.
Then there is no police. It's really easy to police, right? Oh yeah. I mean, you can just see it. Plain as the nose on your face if it's legal or it ain't. I love pulling the stock tractors. I love pulling stock tractors with the kids, you know, but I mean, I'd be the first one to admit or to say, what the hell is stock? I mean, and then, and then to police it, yeah. I'm glad we don't have a lot of trouble with that, every once in a while. I mean, what have we done since me and Brandon have been involved together pulling? What have we ever checked? 2 tractors?
Yeah, probably 2 or 3. Yep.
Yeah, at the most, I'm not saying that there ain't some that ought to be checked, but I mean, it's just, it is what it is.
Well, it's like, going back to the stock tractors that we ran for a long time, when you're talking stock rods versus maybe a billet rod or something like that, in my opinion, there's not much performance enhancement when you're at 3,800 or 4,250 or whatever, but you're looking at more of a longevity thing.
Exactly.
When it came to Sten stuff, we got back a lot of years ago, we had our stock tractor tore down, and after 2.5 hours of tearing a stock 12 horse apart, I got DQ'd for not having stock valve spring retainers. They were an aftermarket valve spring retainer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
what was that good for? Like 5-10 horse on the dyno?
31.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. When you're talking about policing,
Yeah.
but somebody was mad and put the money up, and it said it had to be Stens or stock, and I didn't throw a fit about it. It's you're right, but not thinking, just
Right. What do you do?
ordered belts,
Yeah.
but we don't have a huge issue with the mini rods, 235, 1,800 pounds, 8 foot, 31-inch tires. That's about what our rules are with that one. You get into the Economod, and they've, with the LSs now and the Gen 1s and all that, there's a little more to where we're going with serial number on heads to make sure they're, a 15 degree or more head, but and the sad thing about it, the tractor pullers are their own worst enemy. If I've got to cheat to win, I'll just get out. That's where I'm at with it. I got my heads off of eBay for $425 for the pair of them. That's where I'm with my, with my LS. So, and we went through 3 of them before we figured out that the guy assembling the tractor together was the one that was causing the blow up. So, not the engine builder or anything like that. So, lesson learned, I guess.
You won't do it again, will you?
No. No, but I'll tell you, by looking through, from what I've seen from Powderly to Liberty to Mondovi, Wisconsin, there's guys stepping up their deal. This is going to be for the Economod side. It's going to be anybody can win at any time. I mean, there's some good machines out there that's fun. We probably got 16 to 18 of them at any event can win, which is cool.
Yep.
So,
Are a lot of them getting to be LSs now, Chuck? Or?
I think there's only 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Thought there was more than that.
Me, Kyle Knowles got 1, Dave Fountain's got 1, and that's it. And you were talking about Tom and Brenda. I don't want to say they police our rules. They kind of say, hey, when the LSs first come out, when Jerry Thompson's dad had the first LS, our rules read that you had to have the stock angle heads for that block. That's pretty simple. If an LS comes with a 10-degree head, they're going to flow a whole lot better than a 23-degree head.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So Tom and Brenda come up and said, hey, they get it figured out. So what they did was they opened a rule that everybody could run down to a 15-degree head.
Right.
So guys running 23s on the Gen 1s, it was a big expense if they wanted to go to, 15, but a lot of them are still running the 23-degree heads, and are still competitive because they got it figured out.
Right. Well, and they have always been advocates to try to keep things as close as they could between the brands and the models or whatever,
Level playing field.
That's what they always wanted. Yeah.
The only thing that, a lot of people balk about the Trent County is the 370 cubic inch. A lot of guys are in the 410. They said it's easier to build 410s than 370s or whatever. But when the 6-liter LS come out at 368, what a perfect engine to use. And I was still at scratch. So, why not build, and it's hard to believe that Gen 1 engine is getting to be a little harder to come up with, because every stock car guy ran them, demolition car, the whole gamut. And we still have to be a cast iron block too. We can't run the aluminum 6.0s. So, but, and then, to back up, it was the 370s had to be a flat tappet cam. Well, now, with the LSs, they were a hydraulic roller. Well, then they said, okay, everybody can be a hydraulic roller, and it's got to have so much of a squish on the hydraulics. And, I don't know who's carrying around the tools to do that. They did open up where we could run a magneto now versus just a distributor, across the board. Actually run a crank trigger on ours because with the LS, it's a little different setup because everything runs off the cam sensor,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I've had guys from down south. You get down Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida, they're afraid to death of the LSs because they're so much better. Well, you just got to make them level, have a level. And, they just begged me to bring it down to Florida for exhibition run. I'm not running, 24 hours down there to run an exhibition hook. I'm not doing it,
Right.
But it'll all come around. They're going to have to. I mean, even the stock car guys are going to the LSs with the carburetors. It's all available now, and
You're going to run out of blocks eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everything else.
When even in this is the fourth season with ours now. You could pick up a old block out of a truck that's been wrecked or whatever for $300-400. They're $1,200-1,400 now for one that's basically junk.
Right.
That you got to rebuild anyway. So it's coming around. So we just hope we don't have. Hopefully, they're coming out the bearing companies. Well, with an LS, if you don't know, the oil pumps run off the front of the crank.
Mm-hmm.
Well, up until the last few years, they didn't make oversized main bearings. So if you spun a main bearing, you couldn't line bore it because there was no bearings to get it lined back up with the oil pump. So everything was junk. The block, the crank, everything.
Gotcha.
So no, that's my story. I mean, but well, guys, good seeing you down.
Talk about that time.
Appreciate you being in the sport for as long as you are. It's guys like you and your family that is bringing the grandkids up to it. Like I said, our youngest just graduated high school, and he's just now asking how come he doesn't go to tractor pulls with us.
Oh, no.
He pulled garden tractors back when he was 7-8 years old, and now he wants to go mini rod pulling. I think he's got a girlfriend that wants to go more than he does. So
Sure.
So he's going to tag along to a few pulls with us this year before he heads off to school.
That's good.
It's going to be fun having. He might even jump in the seat. Who knows?
Sure.
But
I think I'm going to be at it for a few more years because my youngest grandson is 3. So I'm guessing in another year or 2, he'll get started. And so, we'll probably be at it for a while yet.
That's awesome. And then you got, like I said, AMPI and the ATV club running pretty strong with their schedules. Like I said, it's sad to see Galva. I guess, you guys are running some joint ones with Galva. That's awesome. I'd rather get along with clubs than fight against them. I've said
Yeah,
that
right.
for years. Why, if we can run something together or whatever, awesome. Why try to schedule something on the same weekend or whatever? I know, Brandon and Travis are good friends where they work together a lot, and so that's awesome. Ed, he just goes where he wants to go.
Kind of.
So hope everybody's surviving the storm up there. Looks like we're don't have to check crops too much. We didn't get no hail here, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't think we got any hail. We got some rain, which is good.
Yeah, it rained pretty hard.
Yeah. So we don't need no floods. There's nothing wrong with some rain. Isn't going to give it a rain day because I think I got a whole list of stuff to fix tomorrow. So nothing major. It's just part of it, right, Brandon?
Right. It just keeps growing.
Yep.
The list keeps going and going.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
no,
all
we
right,
do
guys.
appreciate you coming on, Don.
Well,
And
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yep. Appreciate you being so camera shy in the dark there.
Oh. I don't know. We don't like. I don't like it very light. I like it kind of dark.
Yeah, that's all right. I do my best work in the dark.
Yeah.
So that's sleep. I'm talking about sleeping, guys. So,
I don't know. The picture looks okay on my screen, I guess.
Oh, you're good.
You're good, Don. Just giving you a hard time, but no, it's good seeing you, Don. It's been a little bit since I've seen you. I was pretty excited to see you when Brandon said you were going to come on and chat with us for looks like an hour and a half, a little over an hour and a half now. So, Ed, always good seeing you.
Yep, good seeing you guys.
Yeah.
Sniff paint fumes. Brandon, you got everything in the ground?
Oh yeah, everything's in the ground, and yeah, I'm off working on all my crap for my business and a little bit of everything, and keeping them guys going in the process. And got his sun spraying and stuff now, so I don't have to do all that. So
yeah, we got some spraying going on. Got some low ground beans done the last couple of days because we knew this rain was coming, and
yep.
Side dressing coming next and mowing.
Yep.
I mean, we haven't mowed a ditch yet this year, and it's showing. That's the only thing I think is growing is the weeds. Kind of looking kind of ugly around the house here, but the weeds are continuing. So, all right, guys, good seeing you. Everybody be safe. If I don't see you, I'll be in Macville on the 13th, Thursday night.
All righty. Our first hook is the 20th of June, Friday night in Warren, Illinois.
On the 21st.
Is that going to be are we going to have an actual poll, or is that going to be, is it?
Yep.
Okay.
Poll starts at 6.
Okay.
Ed, you know where Maribel, Wisconsin is?
Do I?
Yeah.
That we'll be up there. First time that the mini rods are going to be up there. If you're on the 21st, mini rods are going to be up there on the 21st. A new event for us. So just the Econo mods, I think, is all it's there. So
Okay.
be I don't know, 17 of us, 20 of us, I guess now. So, and then we're off, I think, till July, and then it gets crazy. We got some that are Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You know me, I like to clean my tires, and I get tired of cleaning.
Yeah.
Don, if you're going to suck going down the track, you got to look good sucking.
Oh, okay. Well, I must not suck too bad because I never worry too much about cleaning tires.
I'm not like the Grand National guys that go out there and cut them after every hook, though. That looks terrible. I still don't. I've tried it. I've got the tool from John. I bought that one, and
yeah, I got one too.
I've tried it. I suck at it. Doesn't do. I don't know. I just don't like doing it.
Yep.
I take them up.
At least you're honest.
Yeah, I take him up to Hawthorne and let him do his tricks to it. And, and now I'm dumb. I used to just have one set of tires for each tractor, and now I've got 3 sets for Megan's, 2 for mine. It I never had that choice. I better change tires or this or that or the other. Now I do, and you just overthink it. And
Yep. It's just like we always had in the 50 cubes, we had 4 gears, right? Well, all you had was 3. You had 3 options to be in the wrong gear. I can't imagine what them guys with them 8 and 12 speeds do. You know?
that's I still run an automatic in both of ours because I know if I go to a gearbox, I'll be in the same boat. You know.
Yeah.
I got a friend that's got a gearbox and then's got 1 gear. I'm like, what? He's like, I don't want to.
Yep.
This is a happy medium, and away we go. You know, so
both of my 4 cylinders, I got 1 gear I can use.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. We only have 1 gear. You know, I mean, if we don't like it, we got to change a ring and pinion. You know.
Yeah.
I can do quick change and fed up, but it's not quick. It's a half hour, 40 minutes. So
right.
You know, these guys with these economods can change a gear set in about 7 minutes. You know, they got it all. But I've seen them. I've seen a first hook guy go down, turn his hook down, and come back 6th and have the gear changed in it.
wow.
You know, so
That's quick.
yeah, I'm not to that point. Sometimes I think, you know, that's taking you to the next step. And then the only thing about them is they're pretty much direct drive. You know, there's no forgiveness in them like there is in a torque converter and through the transmission and all that. So it is what it is. I changed torque converters, like I said, seem to work a little better in New Richmond. So we'll see what happens.
There you go.
All right, guys.
All right. See you later.
Sounds good. See you guys.
Everybody.
Yeah.
We'll see
Bye.
you.
Yep.